Hello everyone, welcome back to the discussion with Carol Switzer as the OCEG co-founder and Lee Dietmar, the OCEG fellow, on the top 35 questions leadership must ask about GRC for artificial intelligence, or shortly AI. This time, we will discuss about risk management aspect as a part of the top 25 questions, which are co-authored by two of you. Thanks to you, Carol and Lee, for your kind presence in the discussion.
Hello, Anton. Hello, Carol. Good to be back with you both. Looking forward to continuing our exciting discussion about GRC for AI, and especially today's session on risk management.
Hi, Anton and Lee. It's nice to be with you again. And hi to everybody who's joining us. I hope you're enjoying this series that we've been putting together. And I'm looking forward to talking about these risk management questions next.
Carol and Lee, in the paper that you co-write, the top 25 question leadership must ask about GRC for AI, you actually suggest that there are 4 questions need to be addressed by leadership which are related to risk management. In this regard, may I go with the first question to Carol and invite your view, Carol, or elaboration to the questions which are as follows. Do we have rigorous methodology for evaluating gaps, overlaps, and risks in our use of artificial intelligence? Please, Carol.
Yeah, the question about whether we have an effective methodology for assessing risks associated with the use of AI is really probably one of the most important questions that warrant discussion. We recently ran a survey just on the question of the use of AI for GRC support. And even in that context, fewer than 20% of the participants said that they really had a methodology in place and that they were assessing the risks associated with the use of AI. So I think, understanding how we can brainstorm and talk about what those risks might be, where they would arise in the organization, whether certain uses are just too risky or whether there are good controls that could be put in place. These are all important discussions that have to be had, and they have to be had more than once. And they have to be had at different levels of the organization. So we can make sure that people aren't just making individual risk decisions and applying AI in situations where the organization, if they really thought about it carefully, might have made a different choice.
Thank you, Carol, for such an answer to the questions number 1. And may I now start asking Lee for the questions number 2? For the second question as quoted in the paper, may we hear an elaboration of such particular question from you, Lee? And to the audience, just to remind all of us that the second question is about, do we identify and manage the reputational, relational, regulatory, and operational risks associated with our use of artificial intelligence, and do so with sufficient agility to keep up with the velocity of change? Please, Lee.
Certainly, Anton. AI is the most powerful technology of our time, but it's also the most dangerous. Without careful risk management, AI can cause harm, violate privacy, and destabilize society. The challenge is the exponential rate of change associated with AI. We face risks we've never experienced. Combined with the speed of development and the transformational nature of AI, it means that we need new insights and new approaches to manage risk. Why is risk management so challenging when it comes to AI? Well, 3 things just to start the discussion. AI systems are complex and opaque. We often don't know how they work or why they make the decisions they do. This makes it difficult to identify and mitigate risks. AI systems are trained on data that are often biased and incomplete. This can lead to AI systems that could discriminate against certain groups of people or make inaccurate decisions. And finally, AI systems are becoming increasingly powerful and autonomous. This combination creates risks, the likes of which we've never seen. Now, new laws and regulations and rules will be part of the risk management landscape, but regulation will not be sufficient. We will need new methods, new knowledge, skills, and tools to manage AI risks to reduce the likelihood and impact of unwanted risk events. It's also essential to consider risks associated with external stakeholders' use of AI. Even if an organization is itself not using AI, it is still subject to AI risks. Customers, suppliers, service providers, competitors, regulators, subcontractors, and even employees of your enterprise are likely using AI. How can external actors cause harm to organizations? Well, let's look at some examples. AI can be used to breach an organization's security and data protection systems. Cyber risks amplified. A competitor could use AI to develop a new product or service that is superior to the organization's products and services, or to steal an organization's intellectual property. Competitive risks amplified. A supplier using AI could have an AI failure that adversely impacts operations. Supply chain risks amplified. A regulator could use AI to enforce regulations in a way that causes reputational and/or financial harm to an organization. Regulatory risks amplified. An influencer could use AI to spread misinformation about an organization's products or services. Reputational risks amplified. And finally, an employee could use AI to commit fraud or other crimes against the organization. Fraud risks amplified. There is a clear need to act now to ensure that AI is used safely and responsibly, and that external AI impacts are anticipated and managed. Our futures depend on it.
Lee, thanks for the answer. Now allow me to pose question number 3 back to Carol, which is stated as follows. How are we identifying potential bias or discrimination issues that may arise from the use of artificial intelligence? And what are we doing to ensure that our use of artificial intelligence is not perpetuating or exacerbating past biases or inequities? Carol, would you please to give also an illustration how this already being practiced or supposed to be practiced in the real world scenario? If possible, one illustration practiced by corporation and another one by a public entity and or government body.
Yeah, the issue of bias created by or perpetuated by the use of AI is a really important one. So let's look, for example, at a corporation that through its HR department is using AI to collect, sort, and select candidates for a job based on their resumes. And in order to do this, we've trained the AI on the resumes of past individuals who have held that job or who have excelled at that job. Well, if that past collection of resumes was all for white men, then when the AI is reviewing the newly submitted resumes, they may have a bias created towards the selection of white men to the detriment of other well-qualified candidates. So the review of historic data and how it can create bias is a really important factor. The same thing can apply, let's say, in a governmental agency that's making decisions about the granting of certain social welfare offerings or educational grants or even grants to perform scientific studies. There too, when they look back at candidates that were successful in the past, there might be bias in terms of characteristics like race or age or gender or even educational background. So the use of this historical data is one big area where bias can be created, and we have to be really careful in how the AI is trained in order to prevent the creation or really the perpetuation of historical bias.
Carol, thanks for the answer. Now, allow me to pose the last questions, question number 4 back to Lee, which is stated as follows. How are we preparing for potential disruption or failures in our artificial intelligence system? And what contingency plan do we have in place to minimize the impact of these events on the organization?
Certainly, Anton. Contingency planning is essential for any business or government organization using AI. As AI systems are integrated into critical processes and operations, the potential for disruptions or failures grows. Here are some examples of contingency planning for AI system failures. Backup systems. Just like with traditional IT infrastructure, having backup systems in place can mitigate the downtime when an AI system fails. This might include reverting to manual processes or using an alternative non-AI system. Automated monitoring and alerts. AI models can drift or provide incorrect predictions over time. Implementing real-time monitoring and alerting systems can notify relevant stakeholders as soon as performance degrades or anomalies arise. Having a human in the loop, especially for critical decisions. Here's where you want to integrate a human review process. If the AI system flags uncertainty or error, the human expert can step in to assess and decide. Training, very important. Regularly train employees on potential issues with AI systems and how to respond. In this regard, scenario-based training can be especially effective. Version control. Always maintain multiple versions of AI models. If the latest model starts misbehaving, you can always revert to an earlier one. And geographic redundancy, especially when you have cloud-based AI services. This will help ensure that if one region experiences an outage, traffic and the system operations can be rerouted to another. Now, you ask about, are there some special insights regarding contingency planning and AI? Well, there's quite a few. First of all, complexity increases vulnerability. The more complex an AI system is, the more points of potential failure there are. Continuous testing is necessary, especially because new data, model adjustments, or even external factors can impact performance and risks. Transparency is key. Remember, most people view this as a black box. The more transparent and explainable the AI is, the easier to diagnose problems and gain stakeholder trust. You need to understand potential biases. Having a plan to identify, address, and correct biases is crucial to maintain fairness and system credibility. Stakeholder communications are very important here. From end users to top management, be sure they're aware of potential risks and the corresponding contingency plans. Regulatory considerations require special attention. Ensure your contingency plans also account for regulatory compliance, especially in sectors like healthcare, finance, and defense. Take a holistic approach. Consider the whole system, including data pipelines, infrastructure, and integrations. And finally, ethical concerns. If an AI system failure has potential ethical implications, for example, healthcare diagnostics or autonomous vehicles, the contingency plan should prioritize safety and ethics. So, in summary, while AI offers potential significant benefits, it also brings with it unique challenges and risks. Proactive planning, continuous monitoring, and ongoing training are key to successfully managing and mitigating AI system failures.
Thank you, Lee, for your thought and answer to that question. Now we come to the final thought, the final say of this discussion. In this regard, may I ask and invite audience to give our thanks to Lee and Carol for their kind sharing with us on the aspect of risk management, particularly related to the methodology for evaluating the risks in our use of artificial intelligence, the identification and how to manage risks associated with that use, including potential bias, and the last of how are we preparing for potential disruption or failures in our artificial intelligence system, and what important as well on what contingency plan do we have to have in place. Hence, our organization remains resilient and agile to keep up with the velocity of change and the associated issues and challenges that come along with them. So, I would like then to say see you in the next discussions about compliance aspect in the context of what leadership must ask about GRC for artificial intelligence. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you so much, Lee, and of course then to the audience.
Thanks, Anton. Fun to chat with you and Lee as always, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks everyone for being with us. Thank you, Anton, for hosting this special series. Carol, we'll talk to you soon.
We are going to see you again in the next session. Thank you.